icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
News time, 8 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. Your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. DeWitt County Sheriff's staff will receive compensation increases starting December 1st, a measure the sheriff says will help recruit and retain police officers at a time of great turnover for law enforcement across the country. DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker indicates the pay increases come at an unusual time because the department currently has 3 years remaining on its current agreement, but the increases will help keep them in line with not only the Clinton Police Department, but other agencies in central Illinois.
Well, what happened, Seth, was a couple months ago, the city of Clinton, ratified a contract, and they changed their pay scale and got a significant wage increase, which kind of puts us behind the eight ball a little bit because, we've lost, since I've been in office, I've lost 2 people to the city of Clinton simply because they could go across the street and make about $10,000 a year more. When you got people who are invested in the community and want to stay in the community and continue working here, and they leave our place, go across the street and make $10,000 a year more, we want to keep, they're good people. We want to keep those people. I had one guy that left. He was started in corrections, loved working for us, never thought he'd ever leave the sheriff's office. And it got to the point where he needed to do what was best for his family, and $10,000 a year when you got a little kid and starting daycare and things like that, that's what happened. So basically what happened was after that got passed, the Fraternal Order Police reached out and asked if they could have a labor management meeting. We're under contract with them for 3 more years, and had a discussion, and they made a request, and basically we did not reopen negotiations. They made a request, and then there was some discussion at the finance committee level to go ahead and try and increase the pay scale, the wages for the next 3 years. And what we did was December 1st, they were due to get a 4% raise, and then December 1st, the next 2 years, they were going to get a 3% raise. So what the county did was increase this year's 1%, and the next 2 years 2%. So it's going to be 5, 5, and 5.
According to Sheriff Walker, this shows the sheriff's staff the county is working in good faith to be supportive of them. Additionally, the sheriff says unless they hire lateral transfers, they're paying deputies for over a half a year before they can be on the streets of the county.
And, it does a couple things. It gives us shows a good faith effort on the county's part that we're trying to get them up closer. And, quite frankly, it'll probably avoid arbitration in the next contract. At least we hope it does.
Yeah.
But, one thing people don't look at when we hire somebody, I try to hire them about a month before they go to the academy so they can get their feet wet and get a little bit of, familiarization with the office. Then they're gone to the academy for 4 months. Then they come out and they're on field training for 3 months. So we got 8 months worth of wages and benefits as far as Social Security, all that, plus equipment. So like I explained to the board, we got almost $50,000 invested in somebody before we get any use in them. And if we don't do something to try to retain these people, this year alone, we will have spent almost $150,000 on individuals before we even get any use out of them. So, we need to do something because, as an elected official, I feel I'm obligated to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money. So, the raise that we are implementing here is a lot less than that $49,000, almost $50,000 that we're investing in somebody before we get any use out of it.
Sheriff Walker points out one of the other reasons they want to make sure they keep staff around is so the deputies get to know the community and the community gets to know the officers.
The other aspect of that is the longer people stay here, the more they get familiar with the community, get familiar with the people that we deal with more. So whenever something happens, like, oh, hey, I remember I had so-and-so, 6-8 months ago, he was doing the same types of thing. Let's go take a look at fortunately, it passed the board 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the board understands the importance of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a good working relationship with the board.
Mm-hmm.
They control the finances of the office,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been very fortunate that they understand that when we need something, there's a reason. I'm not just going in there and asking for things just arbitrarily, just because I can.
Mm-hmm.
I got a legitimate need, and I can justify everything that we've been spending money on.
Sheriff Walker notes it is way more expensive to bring on a new hire and get them trained than it is to increase the wages of current officers and provide incentives for them to stay. It's nearly time to get those school physicals and sports physicals taken care of. A local health official, local health officials are encouraging you not to wait. On the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday, Michelle Valentine, an RN at Warner Hospital and Health Services, told Regional Radio certain school-age kids need the school physical, and kids playing sports will need those sports physicals.
Well, you need to know that school physicals are required for kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade, which is freshmen. They're also required if a patient is new to the school district, regardless of what grade they're going in. And the sports physicals are required for any activities that they would be in the school. While a school physical is essential and needed, a sports physical is optional. A sports physical does not act as a school physical, but a school physical can be also included with a sports physical. All the provider does is say that they're eligible to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
You can call Warner Family Medicine and get that scheduled. The sports physicals can be done in the walk-in clinic, but again, that is not a school physical. A school physical is much more detailed, and that would need to be scheduled with one of our providers.
CEO Paul Skowron warns not to wait to get these taken care of. With school just a few short weeks away, he says a lot of families will put these off until the last minute, and Warner Hospital fills up its schedule.
Michelle raised a really important point. Dr. Natasha Minert is our new provider that's been there since November, and she really likes to work with young children. We haven't had that before, having an MD that really likes to work with very young children. So she's really provided us with the resources to see more school physicals this year. And the reason we're here is often people wait until the second week of August, and they realize as they're coming back from their vacations, oh my gosh, I got to get this done. And so we're trying to get ahead of the curve.
Skowron says they have a tremendous staff to see the kids for physicals and is pleased to now be able to see much younger patients thanks to the addition of Dr. Natasha Minert. News time is 16 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. Plenty more to get to still on the WHOW Morning Show.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Yes, we finally have new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels. Custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, high countries. This month, get an extra down payment assistance on all Silverados. Baum Chevrolet Buick. We have inventory. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
News time is 17 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Mowing is underway beside highways across the state. The Illinois Department of Transportation is asking drivers to slow down and give crews plenty of room, says spokesperson Paul Wappel.
We do two types of mowing, maintenance mowing and safety mowing. And it's a win-win because the mowing schedule we use helps minimize the impact on the traveling public while encouraging, pollinator activity, which helps in the reproduction of flowers, fruits, and vegetables.
Wappel adds mowing is timed to help encourage pollinator activity.
Reducing the amount of land that's maintained and growing pollinator habitat also protects the endangered rusty patch bumblebee and the monarch butterfly, which is the official state insect of Illinois.
Maintenance mowing includes areas next to culverts, ditches, and traffic control devices. The heaviest mowing operations will continue until mid-August. The Illinois Department of Public Health is urging people to watch out for rabid, bats, and other infected animals. Bats are the most common source of potential rabies infection, and the peak time for exposure is August, says state public health veterinarian Dr. Connie Austin.
If they have one in their home or they come in contact with one or they're bitten, then they need to talk to their animal control and their local health department so we can make sure that the bat can get in for testing if it's available. And if not, they may need to get rabies preventive treatment.
Dr. Austin has this advice.
If you see a bat in a home, if you're calm, which is difficult for people to be calm when there's a bat in their home, but if you can put a container over it safely and then go to the phone and call, your animal control or your local health department, and they can talk with you about what was your interaction with that bat in the home.
Austin says if someone wakes up with a bat in their home, that is considered exposure, even if they can't find a bite mark. So far this year, 27 rabid bats have been found in 14 Illinois counties. The Prairie Heart Institute and the Prairie Heart Foundation are partnering with a local family to meet life-saving equipment needs across central and southern Illinois. The McGraw family from Rochester says their family and the Rochester Junior High baseball team witnessed a tragic event when a local community member suffered a cardiac arrest during a baseball practice. Although 911 was called, the individual did not survive. Members of the McGraw family and Prairie Heart say that an automated external defibrillator, or AED, could have made a difference that day on the baseball field. Brandy Grove, manager of philanthropy for the Prairie Heart Foundation, says a new program has been started to provide AEDs to area organizations to prevent more tragedies from happening.
As part of our mission, we really want to make sure certainly that people are educated about how to prevent heart disease and how to live a healthy lifestyle so, they can prevent any other heart issues that they might have. But also it's really important right now with there being such a lack of EMS providers, also just the equipment actually to, AED machines, there's actually a shortage of AED machines, and just people that would be, kind of those first responders to these scenes where, it's necessary to administer an AED or CPR, we're finding that those lag times are longer. So one of the things that we thought would be really important as part of that mission to provide this community education is to also be able to provide our prairie communities with AED machines. And then I think, we've done that, gone a step further, and not only are we, providing AED machines out in the prairie service areas, but also it is mandatory to participate in our hands-only CPR training. So not only do you get the chance to learn how to use the AED machine, but then our community educator comes out and teaches the recipients of the machine on how to provide hands-only CPR. The critical piece to that, why we do that, is because not every heart rhythm is actually shockable, and the machine will tell you if it is or isn't. So being able to also know hands-only CPR, or for these particular machines that can actually walk you through CPR, is really critical to keep that oxygen flowing in your body.
Grove says they hope to award 22 machines to organizations in their service territory this year. Governor J.B. Pritzker is signing a new law to help end homelessness. The effort is to make sure everyone has a place to live now, has the attention to an interagency task force to help direct millions in funding for homelessness prevention, rental assistance, and more housing. Governor Pritzker says the state is working to address the needs of anyone who is homeless.
This state is focused on meeting the humanitarian needs of the people of our state and people who come to our state, whether they are undocumented or, in the case of the migrants, they are documented. These are asylum seekers, and we want to make sure that they are cared for. We get support, some support from the federal government. The state is providing support for that, and the city of Chicago, you're talking about migrants, also doing the same. So from my perspective, there's no difference between someone who is unable to get housing or unhoused, who is a citizen of the United States. and someone who arrives here who is in need.
The latest push is for functional zero, a term that means homelessness is brief and support is there quickly for those who need it. Governor J.B. Pritzker and the state's largest public employee union announced Tuesday they have agreed on a new contract that will provide a nearly 18% pay raise over 4 years, including a 4% raise this year. The contract also expands parental leave for 12 weeks and calls for new joint efforts to improve workplace safety. A spokesperson for the governor's office said in an email, the contract is projected to cost an additional $204 million in the first year and $625 million over 4 years. Members of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Council, or AFSCME, which represents about 35,000 state employees, voted in local union meetings over the last 2 weeks to ratify the contract, which negotiators had tentatively agreed to on July 1. The announcement came on the same day Governor Pritzker, leaders of the Democratic National Committee, and Chicago labor leaders announced they had reached a labor peace agreement covering the 2024 Democratic National Convention to ensure there will be no labor disruptions during the event. AFSCME Council 31 Executive Director Roberta Lynch says the contract helps to address the toll that inflation has taken on state employee incomes and keeps health care affordable. The joint statement says the agreement contains other provisions intended to streamline the filling of vacancies to help recruit, hire, and retain workers. That includes new contract language to reflect the state's transition to an electronic hiring process, forming a joint labor management committee that will meet to identify roadblocks to hiring, establishing a pilot program for recruitment bonuses for positions with high vacancy rates, and ensuring employees who are on parental leave can still bid on vacancies during their leave. Negotiations over a new contract were taking place at the same time state lawmakers were negotiating a $50.4 billion budget package for fiscal year 2024, which began July 1. Democrats, who hold supermajorities in both chambers of the General Assembly, said during those negotiations there were enough resources in the budget to pay for the new contract. President Joe Biden Tuesday signed into law 3 new national monuments honoring the life of Chicago native Emmett Till. In 1955, Till, a black teenager, was beaten, shot, and mutilated in Mississippi 4 days after a white woman accused him of whistling at her. Now, 3 new monuments, with one in Chicago, will honor the life of Till. That sparked the civil rights movements. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton was with President Biden as he signed the new law.
It's important because, first of all, it is sort of the center of what happened with this sort of sparking of the civil rights movement in Illinois, where Emmett Till was from, and his family lived. And it's also where that funeral took place. Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ is where that open casket funeral took place that I, again, said sort of not only marked this horrific murder that defined our nation, but created a path to the civil rights movement. And so the proclamation that President Biden signed was an example of making a permanent memorial to the significance of this space. And it's really important at a time like we are living in right now, where we see people across our country and states and unfortunately state leaders across our country who are trying to erase history like that of Emmett Till and not tell the full story of the history of America and our path and our journey towards justice.
Tuesday marked the 82nd anniversary of Till's birthday in 1941. Now that the site is considered federal property, the site will receive around $180,000 a year in funding from the National Park Service. Ahead of next summer's Democratic National Convention in Chicago, top Democratic officials on Tuesday signed a labor peace agreement, reinforcing Democrats' longstanding ties to organized labor and limiting potential disruptions at the highly watched event. The deal means the Democratic National Committee will use union labor when available, and unions won't strike during the 4-day convention scheduled for next August. The agreement, the details of which are not being made public comes more than a year ahead of the convention itself, which is scheduled for August 19th through the 22nd, 2024. The 13-month lead time places the labor agreement earlier than ever before, according to Governor J.B. Pritzker, who was on hand for Tuesday morning ceremony at Chicago's McCormick Place. Governor Pritzker was a major force behind the campaign to lure the DNC to Chicago, with the city beating out Atlanta and New York for the bid to host the gathering. Governor Pritzker has been involved in Democratic presidential campaigning for more than a decade. At a June event in Chicago, President Joe Biden says Governor Pritzker helped him more than anybody in America to get elected last time. Governor Pritzker was also involved in Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign and was a delegate to past party conventions. On Tuesday, Governor Pritzker touted Illinois' record on labor as a key reason that the DNC was coming to Chicago, a city that Ryder called the hometown of the American labor movement. DNC Chair Jamie Harrison, who also attended a fundraiser with Vice President Kamala Harris in Chicago's Gold Coast neighborhood Monday, claimed the level of engagement between the labor movement and the party is probably the highest it's been in a long time. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, himself a longtime organizer with the Progressive Chicago Teachers Union, committed to using the convention to bolster economic development in communities that have historically faced disinvestment. Get news anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason.